Hello, welcome back to Real Estate Real Home Stories. I'm Sue Curlette, and I am joined today with John Smith,
Hello,
my
hello. How you
co-host.
doing?
How you doing, John?
Good. How about you?
Good, good, good. So John and I have already said our hellos today because we got on here a few minutes early. Um, and we had a couple questions come in that I want to answer before we get off topic. And John and I have these wonderful conversations, and um, we sometimes forget that you guys are listening. So we're going to do the questions first, and then you can enjoy John and I yelling at each other because that's what we
Why
like
we
to do.
dialogue the
Why
situation?
we dialogue, why we break down the reality of what we're living in today, right? What a mess.
High interest rates.
What a mess. What a
It is a
mess.
mess.
Oh my God. Yeah, I'll tell you, John, and already I'm going to get off topic, but I'll tell you I'm very, very concerned with the market. I
Mhm.
mean, I'm concerned, John. I don't know what
Yep.
else to say. Last week was a tough week for me. I had a buyer go out, and the reality is, it is going to be very, very difficult to find a property that meets any expectations under
Yep.
$350,000. Like, that's
It's
not in an area where they don't feel safe, So, what a
it's
circus.
and people have to lower their expectation a little bit. But I know it's hard when you start looking at monthly payments and what your
Well, and
money will buy.
that's literally that's what
It's
we're looking
it's
at.
a it's a pinch, man.
Yeah,
You
it really
know,
is.
300, 350. You're looking at hell. I mean,
$2,600 a month.
2,600, 2,650 a month.
Yep,
I mean, I mean, I don't know any young people paying 2,650 for rent
a month.
a month.
Right. Oh, and find a house. Good luck,
Yeah,
because
the
literally, we looked at probably 15 houses,
yeah,
and some of them were very nice. And literally, it took us an entire day because they weren't 15 in one zip code. You know what I mean? Obviously, there's not 15 in one zip code.
no,
So we increased the search area. We went into areas that never would have been where this person would have even thought of.
right.
So we're trying really hard to step outside the box. So if you're a buyer and you're listening to this and you know what we're talking about, we're feeling it too. It's not just you. It's not your agent. Your agent is probably doing everything in their power to get you in. Um,
Yeah,
including losing sleep at night because there's just nothing to find,
no,
right?
there's
Like,
there's nothing.
the market is incredibly thin.
It's
Um,
it's very tight. It's very expensive.
it
But
is.
I just did a post on LinkedIn.
Well, this week we released Home Joiner.
Yeah,
So I created a website that is going to allow all of the realtors that are out there, including contractors, mechanical contractors, plumbers, whoever is home service based. You're going to be able to join for $250 a year. Put your name on there, put your bio on there, put your license on there, put your information on there. It's right now, it's live. So it came out yesterday. John's not even on it yet. So I went on yesterday. John's going on today. We're still going to be tweaking it. So go on $250 a year. And consumers, buyers, sellers that are listening to this, you're gonna have educated people that are going to be on these sites. If you log in today, there's probably not anybody on there. So until
you got to build it.
October, yeah, until October of 2025, I'm not going to charge anybody for renewal fees. So from right now till October 1st is free. Go take your territory. You can pick whatever territory you want right now. Next year, I cannot promise that. I have a full heart for everybody out there that's hurting right now, and that's why I created this site. It is created for you. $250 a year that you get to write off at the end of the year. You are welcome. Tell these companies that are taking $1,000 a month per zip code to jump in the lake and help us grow this thing. Right,
Yeah,
John? Like, we need you to help us grow it. You've got to
yeah.
sign up. You've got to be active on it. If you want to talk about your buyer agency, you're welcome to. This is
Yeah.
a place where you can freely go on there and express whatever you want in your bio. And it's going to also allow you to include your website. So if you're looking for that resource to be able to say, hey, look, this is what 123 Main Street is paying in buyer agency, put it in your bio, put it in your website. The link is there for you.
Yeah.
Help me help you, right? Like, no, never have I ever been more honest in saying, help me help you.
Mhm.
It's there, it's available. Let's grow it together. On to the questions, right? Are we good?
Yep.
Or do you want to,
No,
did you
we're
want to
good.
finish up on anything? Okay.
Yep.
Number 1, can I pay a commission to just a buyer's agent? Here's that buyer agency again.
Yeah.
So go ahead, John.
Well, commissions are generally paid between brokerages. We have a brokerage agreement. The agreement
Right.
that we're all currently signing says that, of course, if the seller obviously is willing, and we explain to them the advantages of co-oping, bring the greatest number of people to the marketplace to see your property. That's what real estate's really about.
Absolutely.
So currently our agreement says, the buyer agency agreement says, this is the fee that the professional services fee that the broker's charging. And that paragraph B says that some or all of that can be offset by what the listing brokerage is publishing as far as cooperation
A
costs.
cooperation fee.
So when the changes come, we'll no longer be able to know whether that listing or that seller and that brokerage have a cooperation mechanism, because when it kicks in, it's not allowed to be published on the MLS. So if as a buyer, if your go-to is Redfin or your go-to is Zillow or Realtor.com, that information is not there.
Yeah, but it will be on Home Joiner, or it can be.
Yeah. I mean, it's going to have
That's
to be
why we're
other
doing it.
places.
I
I
mean,
think
it's
you're
one
going
of
to
the reasons.
see. I think you're going to see listing agents use cover sheets. However, it can't say
I
anything about commissions
I
because
think it's going to be on their website, and
it's
they're
going to
going
be
to
on their
have to
website. But
just,
I'm going
yeah.
to tell you that the millennials today ain't doing websites,
So
and they
they're
don't really
going to
care.
have to.
I don't think that the buyer is ever really going to care
Yeah.
until we have to sit down and explain to them that they're going to owe an additional $6,600 to what they expected
Right.
to pay out because
Yeah,
this
buyers.
seller decided. I think. I mean, again, I don't want to get ahead of myself because this
Yeah.
is another month out.
We don't know, right? We won't
But
know for sure until next month.
it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out, and I'm hopeful that we'll all just take a deep breath.
Right.
We'll digest it, and then we'll put mechanisms in place.
Yep.
So that people know what's going on. But it's definitely going to change the conversations, not only that you have with your buyers, but also with your sellers.
Right.
And it's going to change a lot with the buyers and a lot less with the seller, because most of us explain the advantages of co-oping anyway. I heard an interesting thing kind of through HomeSmart this week, that a seller contacted the brokerage and was very upset that, we everything at HomeSmart is exclusive right to list.
Right.
We don't do the other one.
What other one? No, I'm
Well,
kidding.
the other
Right.
one
I'm kidding.
basically is like
Anybody can send.
it's a free for all.
Yeah. Yeah.
We don't do that because there's also no control there.
Mhm.
As far I mean, look, it puts us at a great deal of risk.
Yeah.
But we don't even, as a brokerage, offer it. I mean, you'll see, Sue, in the current MLS that they have a sub agency and then a buyer agency. This brokerage doesn't even allow sub-agency.
Right.
A lot of them don't because of the risk, the nature of the risk to the brokerage.
There is so much that's going to transpire in the next 6 months that that I'm glad that we got where we got with Home Joiner. I'm glad that it's going to be available to people. It is a gift. There's no other way to put it. Every dime that I've made that's extra has gone into this website, and John will vouch for that. I have taken my money, I have taken my time, I have put my heart into this website to make sure realtors, especially, I am bleeding with you and I am bleeding for you. And let me tell you, we don't have to tolerate this. I know I'm a fighter. I know that I'm the kind of girl that you just don't want to bump into at the bar. You know what I mean? Like, I am definitely a little bit kind when I have to be. And you've probably heard it. John's like, she's too kind, she's too giving, she's too loving, blah, blah, blah. I am. But when you push me, I will bite. And it is time for us realtors to bite back and fight back and say, absolutely not. Absolutely not. We've had enough. You know, like, there comes a time when you just say, enough is enough. We are intelligent people that have worked, and I sound so bitter, don't I? I'm sorry if I sound bitter, guys, but we have worked, and I've been 50-50, if not 75-25. Like, I like working with buyers. I really do. A lot of agents are on the flip side of that, and they prefer to work with sellers. I don't mind working with sellers. Don't get me wrong. That's much easier. Sorry, guys, but it's much easier to work for a seller than a buyer.
In this market, it's much easier to represent the interest of the seller.
Absolutely.
I feel for the buyers. I mean, Sue and I talk about this all the time. You're showing them houses, and at first, it's like, well, do they really trust you? And it's like, well, you said, what would you recommend that I offer? And I tell you, and you're like, yeah, I don't want to offer that. And then it doesn't get accepted. I mean, is your plan better than mine? Because I'm in the market every day. You're trying to buy a house or your first house.
Yeah.
And so, 2 or 3, 4 shoot downs, and all of a sudden they're upset. And listen,
like, we need a different agent. We need this. We need that.
As human beings, nobody looks in the mirror and goes, "Yeah, I screwed that up." I should have listened to my agent. Right. Sometimes they do. Usually it's after a very painful, expensive lesson. Absolutely. Yeah, I should have listened to you. I didn't. Right. But a lot of times they just get upset and like, I just got to take a break from looking for a house.
Yeah. There's so much that goes into these transactions that people don't realize until they're in a transaction, especially a transaction where they need help, because, anybody can go knock on a door and say, hey, this is your listing. Can you show me the house? What people don't understand is that when that door is opened, legal stuff happens.
Yep.
Right? Like, legal stuff happens. Yep. And to the listing agents, especially listening to this, be careful. You start acting like you can represent the buyer, you're done. I guarantee you're done. The real estate commission is going to be all over this. Yep. The lawsuits are going to come. There's going to be bloodshed. I don't know how else to say it. In real estate terms, it is going to be so scary. Like, I just can't.
Well, this is the easiest thing to catch an agent on. Is who do you really work with? The number one complaint at the real estate commission is agency.
100% all the time.
By far, not by like this much, by like leaps and bounds.
Absolutely.
This is the number one thing.
So, we're not attorneys, or we would never act like we are. No. We say it all the time. We're not.
You can look at the complaints and the commission. You can go in and look at all the complaints.
If you are being sued,
the names are disguised.
Let's say
you can look and see what people are doing.
Right. Let's say you're being sued for $1 million. Right. Ooh. Somebody suing you for $1 million. Ooh. Are you going to go into court and not have somebody representing you? Are you going to walk up to the defense attorney and say, I didn't know when I said this that I was going to lose $1 million. No, you're not. You're going to keep your mouth shut because it's not your profession. You're not an attorney,
No.
and you're going to let the person that you hire
Right.
take care of you because that's what they do. There's
So-
not a whole lot of difference in buyer agency versus listing agency, right? Like there's
So
just not.
I think the biggest thing that the buying consumer is going to be shell shocked about is access to the properties, because and we joke about this all the time when we're all like,
Yeah.
when you see us and we're all together at an event,
Yeah.
we often talk about this kind of stuff about, I got a call the other day and it was a sign call, and the lady
Yeah.
said she and her husband have been looking a while and they want to see the house. You're going to need to rethink your rules of interaction with those people should you choose to show up.
Absolutely.
I think it's going to be hard for buyers.
You know
to
what's
get
going to be
access.
really
They're
you know
going
what's going to be
to
really
rely
fun?
on open houses and try to make
That's
it
what
from there.
you stole my thunder, because that's exactly what I'm thinking. These listing agents are going to say, well, there's going to be unrepresented buyers walking in to my open house all weekend long, and I'm just going to scoop them up. No, you're not. No, you're not. Because guess what? Those buyers that are coming in are going to represent the real estate commission. And when you say, are you represented, or you don't have your form out, or you're going to, good luck. Good luck. I just,
We can all get picked off for something stupid that we forgot.
absolutely.
But let me tell you, those shoppers are going to be out there.
They are
and
going to
they're
be
out there
100%.
because we didn't police ourselves over the
100%.
last 15, 20 years. We should have policed ourselves.
And retainer fees are going to become a thing. There's absolutely no question. I personally have already said on the last podcast, $1,000. If you want to hire me as a buyer's agent, fine, call me. I'll take care of you. I'll take care of you with 100%, attention, but you're going to pay me, because on my buyer broker, you have the right to withdraw. You have the right to walk away in one day, 24-hour notice. Just let me know, and you can go on your merry way and find someone that you're better suited for. Not a problem, but it's non-refundable. That $1,000 is going to pay for my gas. It's going to pay for my time, my experience, and the 20 years that I've been doing this. So good luck. If you want to, if you want to walk away and then contact the listing agent, because we're getting a lot of that, I'm hearing a lot of that where I'll get the buyer's agent to show me the house, but then I'll just terminate my agreement and I'll buy it from the listing agent. That's a lawsuit waiting to happen. So, we're fed up. It's past, reason at this point, right? Like, we sound bitter today. So sorry, guys. You're hearing the emotion and what's going on, right? Like
it'll take a couple months for the dust to settle, and then we'll all figure out how we're allowed to interact between,
and if you're concerned,
buyer customers and seller customers,
right?
But you can't represent both. So
yep. And if you're a consumer and you're in the market, you will be able to go to homejoiner.com. Guess what you won't have to do? Register, because I know better. I don't want to register either. So you don't have to register. Go on there and find your agent. Go on there, find your lawyer. Go on there, find your home inspector. Go on there, find your appraiser. You don't need to get on Facebook in a few months. It's going to take us a few months to build this.
Yeah.
Check first. Let us know. If you reach out to John or I, we will connect you. So if you're in an area that doesn't have anybody in that area yet, you can do the little contact us button. One of us will call you back.
I just did 2 this week.
Exactly.
I get them all the time.
Very easy.
Somebody's looking for an agent outside the area.
Right.
I have a pretty big network of agents.
Absolutely.
I threw them a couple names.
And HomeSmart, right? If you want to research HomeSmart a little bit, there's a reason John and I are both working for HomeSmart. HomeSmart actually has a corporate relocation program, so we have agents throughout the country that we can connect you with. You do not have to fly blind anymore. Homejoiner.com. click on the contact us, even if it's for the website. I own both, right? So go ahead. You can contact me for the podcast as well through a
Yeah.
home joiner. It's fine. I'm going to be checking it continuously.
Yeah.
S. Curlett at homejoiner.com, J. Smith at homejoiner.com. I don't think your email's set up yet, but it will be.
Yeah, we'll have it all set up.
Yeah, we'll have it all set up. So either way, it doesn't matter. You can reach out to us. We will certainly stand by you. We're going to walk you through this process. Agents, we know that you're upset. We know you're trying. If you want to come on the podcast, please reach out to us again. There's a few people that have reached out. I apologize for not getting back to you. When I say I've been spending all my time and money getting home joiner set up, I'm not lying. I'm not lying. Literally. It's a lot more work than I ever thought it would be. But amen.
But hey, I think that eventually we're the good news is that rates have improved a little bit recently.
Absolutely.
This week. Because it looks like inflation is going to ease a little bit, which I'll tell you that in a typical election year, the goal is to make it as rosy as possible, especially if you're the incumbent. But I think in all sincerity that the buyers need a little relief. And what people may not realize is that housing has a tendency to lead you in and out of recessions. And it's the greatest revenue generator of tax money to the state and federal government. Because when you buy a house, you may also buy furniture. And when you buy a house, you may also buy linens. And when you buy a house, you may also buy appliances.
Absolutely.
So the generator, the economy needs that money kicked into the system.
So that gives you general answers. We don't know for sure, but we do believe that it's going to circle and it's going to come down. Should you wait to buy your house till then? Not if you can afford it for the next 6 months.
If you can afford it, buy it.
Buy it.
The bonus, if rates do come down, the bonus is you'll be able to follow the market. Yes. As a loan officer, I will tell you, and I was for 20 years.
Yeah.
I can't tell you how many times, I'm trying to think the most times I ever refinanced somebody's loan. But it would probably be 3 to 5 times in a cycle.
Yeah, I would do it. Yeah. I would refinance. I mean, I want the lowest rate possible. So, those costs are built into the refi. It's not like you got to come out of pocket with money.
I sold a house in 2018.
Uh-huh.
I helped them renovate their property in Baltimore County. They moved to Howard County.
Yep.
And I think they paid $465 for this house, somewhere around $465.
Yep.
And he caught a great rate before rates got crazy. And believe it or not, people don't always refinance to save $200 or save $300, $400.
Yeah.
He flipped his mortgage to a 15-year mortgage. That was smart.
Very smart.
Good friend of mine sold new homes years ago.
I'm a firm believer.
He flipped his mortgage. I refinanced him a couple times.
Yeah.
The last one I did was a 15-year mortgage.
If you're smart enough to pay the 15-year mortgage amount, so you price it out both ways, 15-year, 30-year. If you're smart enough to pay the amount that would be the 15-year on a 30-year, you're paying 0% on anything over your minimum payment. And in the event of an emergency, you don't have to make that same size payment. But the thing to keep in mind is if you're anything like me, those little emergencies pop up left and right. And then,
welcome to real estate.
I end up, right, exactly.
Welcome to real estate.
So do you think the 7 cycles? Feast or famine, baby. Feast or famine, right?
Do you think the 7 cycles were always pleasant?
No.
Those 7 cycles.
I don't think a day is pleasant right now. Like some days are amazing. Like, once in a blue moon, but it's hard. It's hard for all of us.
Hey,
Um,
we're all getting it from both ends, right?
absolutely,
You know, you
absolutely.
go to
Okay.
get gas for your car and you're like, another 10 cents. Jesus God.
I normally would not answer this question, so I'm gonna preface it with I normally wouldn't answer this
Oh no,
because
answer
it's
it.
personal choice. I know John's like, I'll do it.
I don't care.
Should I put in new carpet
I'm assuming that you're a seller in this
as
question.
you know what? That's the question. I'm assuming it's a seller as well.
Okay, so
Let's go with that.
paint and flooring are the cheapest way to the price you're looking for your house.
Absolutely.
Nothing. I mean, it's not cheap.
Kitchen. Yeah.
You
I
know,
mean,
well, you can
math.
do it. You know, if your cabinets are in decent shape, you can do a little mini makeover with, you know, new countertops and a sink and a swan's neck faucet and maybe some new
Light
pulls on your
fixtures are
cabinets, light
huge,
fixture.
huge. Hardware on your
Yeah.
cabinets, huge.
But yes, I would say that I would preface that question with ask your agent.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah, because the
Because
carpet might not be that bad.
I've seen sellers spend like $10,000 on carpet. I told this story before. Right at the
Absolutely.
settlement, the girl's like, "God damn, I settled," and the
I can rip out that carpet.
seller's like, "Wow, you're so excited," and she says, "Yeah, my contractor's coming tomorrow, and he's going to tear out all that ugly carpet."
Oh God. Right. So
I had to like muzzle her. I went, whoop,
I
and I
know
said, "I
it's
told you
so
so.
bad.
I told you should have let me look first."
Now there's also things that you can do, guys, that are not going to look visually as good, but might help, especially in this kind of market where you just get your pricing together for your floor and offer it as a concession, right? Like, so say, look, I know that the floors are stained. We are willing to give you $10,000 toward carpet or whatever you want to do. $10,000. It's going to go towards your closing cost. It's going to help your buyer. It's going to help you not have to do that right now. And for about half of the buyers that come in, it'll work. The other half cannot visually see past dirty carpet.
So I'll tell you why that's important for agents. I was working with an agent, newer agent,
Yeah.
at my previous broker, and he got his first listing. He was super excited. I said, "You know, do you need any help?" "No, I think I got it. I think I got it." And so it was a townhouse condo, and he says, "I'm live. I got all the pictures." And
Oh,
so I
good.
said, "Well, let me check it out." So I pull it up, and I always go through the pictures backwards
Right.
because
You
I
said
want to
that.
see
Yeah.
the bad before the good.
Yeah. I
And
don't put that picture.
I'm flipping through the pictures, and some are a little dark, but you know, they're not bad. And then I get to this one picture
Oh, Lord.
is like at the top of the landing for the main level, which was like living room, dining room, kitchen.
Yeah.
And I say to him, "Is that a ripple in your carpet?"
Oh, no.
And he said, "Yeah." And I said, "Why would you take a picture from that angle? More importantly, why didn't you have a conversation with the seller about how important flooring, and even if you just did that main level." Well,
Yeah.
the reason I point this out for you agents is because in about a month he got fired.
Yeah. I mean, they
He
don't
got
stick.
fired. He got fired because he wasn't confident enough to have a conversation about that ripple is going to stick out like a sore thumb when we take a picture of that.
Yep.
I'm not saying you should lie. This is why I don't like uh, um, what kind of staging is that? Where it's virtual staging?
Virtual. Yep.
Because I always feel like they probably put that sofa right over
Misrepresenting.
top of
Right.
that stain.
Yeah.
And
It's
then
misrepresenting.
when I go there, the sofa won't be there, but the stain will. So
Yeah.
agents, listen, it's not just buyers and sellers that we talk about flooring with. It's also the importance of knowing your job and being able to deliver the message. Now, if he chooses
Yeah.
not to do the flooring, and I'll tell you, you know what the guy did? The guy took his listing down. The other agent went behind him, said it's important to do the flooring. The guy did the flooring on the main level.
Sold it day one.
put it back on the market, and then sold in 3 days.
Yeah.
So the buyers can be super picky.
Yeah. I think that it's important to understand what John's saying in the sense that if you're a realtor listening to this, you can be confident and share that confidence and share your experiences with your seller in a very clear and precise manner. Because if you go in there and you're worried about being kind and not hurting somebody's feelings, you're not helping them. You really do. It is your expertise and your experience that's going to help them sell their home. You can't, if there's dishes in the sink, then pull up your sleeves, realtor, and do the dishes. I guarantee you they'll get the point. How embarrassed would you be if your realtor came in and started doing your dishes because the photographer was going to be there in 30 minutes? Hopefully you'd be pretty embarrassed. Some people probably don't care, but what we're saying is you should, right? Like you should be embarrassed and you should take care of that. In my opinion. Next question. How do we feel about pre-occupancy and post-occupancy agreements, John?
I hate them.
Woo! Big question.
I hate them. I tell you what, I dislike them.
Yes. I dislike them too,
because, and I will tell you that there's a new addendum that's out. No, it's good. The addendum's good.
I hope so.
The addendum's good. I looked at it. It's good. It has it.
Is it October 1?
No, it's out now. It's out now.
Okay.
It has a start date and end date, a date, right?
Okay. That's
good.
It
has a set amount or a per diem amount.
Okay.
Or a nothing.
Very important. Right.
And it says, and then it has a deposit amount.
Okay.
And it says in the language of the deposit that if you're a holdover seller who's now a tenant, if you're a holdover, your deposit is automatically forfeited.
If you stay longer than the agreed time?
If you stay a day longer, 2 days longer without consent, you're a holdover.
Okay.
So here's the thing.
Good to know.
I generally don't see these going well. That's the problem. And because here's what the consumer needs to understand, buyers and sellers. Our agreement, our contract, say we represent the seller. Our listing agreement dies either two ways. One of us terminates or the property closes and then that agreement dies. It doesn't continue to live on in a landlord-tenant arrangement.
Correct.
So I see where we're playing, the key jockey. Oh, the seller couldn't get something out of the house. They wrecked the walls. The movers wrecked the walls, and the seller's like, "Well, what do you want me to do?" Right?
Right.
So generally, and again, I've been through some bad ones recently.
Yeah.
I would generally tell my seller, look, rather than do a holdover for a week or two, why don't you put your stuff in a pod, go spend some time with family, especially if you got a brother or sister has a place down the shore, go visit for a week. Or, go see your mom for a week. Take the kids, mom doesn't get to see the kids that much, especially during the school year. Have a plan B. Don't do it because I can't rescue you. Once you decide not to move out, I can't rescue you because I don't have a representation agreement for you.
I can see the value in them. It's certainly scary. So you definitely want to be educated and make sure you're ready and make sure you're comfortable with the seller, because the seller, what John's talking about is my concern as well, is that the seller doesn't leave, you know what I mean? And now you're going to move in and that seller is still there. A lot of times right now, these post-occupancy or rent back agreements are happening because the seller needs to find a home of choice, right?
And
Like,
that's
so
the worst one. That's
that's
the worst one.
it's very difficult because they can't buy a second property until they sell their first, right?
Right.
So they have to find a property in this market is a circus event. I mean, it's
So,
literally I would rather try to learn how to walk elephants around in a circus.
right.
Right? Like I would honestly prefer to be like a circus person
So
walking
let
around an
me tell you.
elephant than working with a buyer that has to be out in 30 days. I mean,
So,
not
so,
easy.
so let me explain this. We had one on the Eastern Shore where their house was on the market.
Yeah.
The inspection was done. All they needed to do is find a property,
Right. I mean, and
right?
good luck with that.
They came to us and said, listen, we can meet all the timelines that the seller wanted. We just need you to be willing to accept a subject to closing. Loan was approved. Buyer's loan was approved. Inspections were done. Appraisal was done. They
Okay.
literally had 2 weeks to find a house. We
Hmm.
were a perfect fit because my seller had already moved to the house she bought, right?
Okay.
And
Right.
so all she had to do is really come back and get the furniture she didn't take in the first run. So it works really good in those situations.
Yeah.
What I don't like is the one where, well, we haven't found a house yet. And we
That's
need the
right.
we need the maximum 60 days. And every
Well,
week you're like, did you find a house? No. Did
yeah.
you find a house? No.
Right.
I'm like, this is going to end bad.
There is a lot to be said. Even a year ago, 60 days plus the 30 days that you had to settle was 90 days, and you could certainly find a house without stress in that 90 days. Now,
Not so much.
a lot harder, a lot harder
Right.
to guarantee that. So that's my only thing is, yes, if you're in a situation, it's going to be on a day by day or case by case basis, but if you're in a house that you can stay in and give the seller an opportunity to really find their home, then that's between the two of you. But the law is very clear when you're buying a primary residence that you have to take possession within 60 days of settlement. So
Yeah.
that's why we're saying 60 days is the max time, because legally you have to possess that property within 60
60
days of
days.
settlement.
Right.
So we'll leave that there, but
It's just, if
very hard.
you can, look, there is a new addendum. All you Maryland agents, there's a new addendum. I like it better. I would tell you that
Little
if you're a
clearer.
buyer's agent and your seller's asking your buyer for that type of an extension, all I'm going to say is a large deposit, and I'll leave it at that.
Yeah. So in representing, here's another question, John. And I can't read my own handwriting. How bad is that? Like, I'm a scribbler. In representing a buyer, asking for seller concessions. All right. So a buyer is asking for seller concessions to be used toward, okay. So the buyer's asking for seller concessions to pay the buyer agent commission that was listed as 0.
Ooh. So Fannie and Freddie, so far, to my knowledge, again, Fannie and Freddie has not said that there's any ability to exceed, whether it be 3%.
I believe they have.
Okay,
I believe that
so
came out
maybe
like
they
2
have.
weeks ago. But here's the thing, they're saying that it does not, and please nobody quote me on this. I will verify it on the next podcast. We'll tell you. But what I believe came out was that Fannie and Freddie said that it's not going to count toward the 6% max. So like with FHA, the seller can pay up to 6% in seller concessions. That's a total that can be accepted. So up to 6% FHA, up to 3% conventional. Now, what they're saying is that the buyer agent commission it doesn't have to be included in that 6%. So if it's 3%, you could get 9% concession back. It
Well,
won't, but I don't want to verify that. Just, that's what I'm hearing.
all I'm
Um,
saying is all these numbers that we're throwing around,
yeah, it's
Fraser
not
has
out yet, but
to buy into it too. And if you're already pushing the
yeah,
number,
right.
you know,
Sellers
and
hear us.
it comes back to it underappraised by $7,500.
Yeah.
Now the seller's like, that's not my problem.
Right. And then the buyer is left without the inspection money and the appraisal money
Yeah.
that they already
Yeah.
paid because they don't have the money.
Oh.
Let's be clear, guys, when we're talking about buyer agency, and we're not talking about specific commissions because they can be whatever, but the bottom line is sellers, the wheel was the wheel and it rolls very nicely and it goes very well in a circle. Right now, they're putting spokes in it, and not the same size spokes. You know what I mean? Like here, this is where we are. We don't know.
We don't know.
And we're not using a round wheel anymore. It's like square and all bumpy and, who knows?
But I'm going to tell you, if we let this thing kick in and we look 6 months, we go 6 months forward and look back, those with reduced or zero co-op fees, their days on market's going to be longer.
Much longer.
Because they're going to have conversations with us as agents, and we're going to say, yeah, nope. I called the listing agent. He said no co-oping.
So
we're going to let it sit. We're going to let that property sit.
Yeah, a new change that's taking place is on the buyer agency agreement, right? And I don't know if this is a new change on the agreement or it's just something that is now coming to light that everybody's going to do. We cannot change the agreed amount to what is listed because it's not listed anymore. So what's going to happen is we used to be able to say, okay, here's a general rule of thumb that says you're going to pay me, and I'm going to use a number just for ease. It has nothing to do with the cooperation fee, 3%, right? You're going to pay me 3% of the sales price to represent you. Buyer's going to sign the form, blah, blah, blah. Now, I go on to Home Joiner and I see the website for this listing. And on that website, it says 3.5%, right? 3.5. Now I can't get 3.5 because I already said I'd take 3, right? So we can't, no, the buyer agency agreement is going to be at a higher commission because the buyer agent has to protect themselves. So
yep,
it's a mess. It's
going to be a mess. It's going to be a mess.
Right. It's a mess.
And just in case that you're wondering, for those who are wondering,
yeah,
our broker's not going to let us do zero either.
No,
because the liability is too high.
No,
even if you were my adult child, my broker's going to say, I don't care.
Yeah, no.
I see that coming, Sue, at HomeSmart.
Yes,
I see that in our agent agreements, it's going to say that there has to be a minimum commission of X charge.
And the sad part and the scary part is that we are just starting to feel how backwards this is turning against sellers, especially because now buyer cooperation was just easy. I mean, if a buyer looked on the MLS and they were only paying a reduced commission, that buyer had the right to go to their client and say, look, they're only offering me 2% and you agreed to pay me 3%. So do you want to pay the extra percent or do you want to skip this house? That was a legitimate conversation. Yeah. And the buyer had the right to say, no, I want to see it and I'll pay the difference. Or the buyer had the right to say no, or the buyer's agent had the right to say, look, I'm going to accept that amount. But that was it's always been between the buyer's agent and the buyer. Always. Once buyer agency is established, that agreed amount is there. This is changing the whole playing field. We're now playing baseball on a football field, right? Like there's no other way to put it. We are playing baseball on a football field. and everybody's putting bases wherever they want, right? Like, oh no, home base is on the 10 yard. I mean, we don't know what we're doing. So,
But
that's the truth of it.
it'll
Now
vet
you got it
itself out.
wrapped
It'll
up.
vet itself out. But
It will. It will.
a
And good
buyer, if
buyer
you're
agents.
listen, I'll tell you this. Buyers, if you're a buyer out there and you know what, you find satisfaction under going under Zillow and saying, "Ooh, I want to see a couple houses this Saturday," and you click on, "I want to see that one, and that one,"
Yeah.
send you to an agent, they can't anymore. They
Nope.
got to refigure their widget because guess what? Their agreement, it's called an agent services agreement. It's not valid in Maryland, Virginia, DC, and Pennsylvania. So agents who have, Zillow agreements, that agreement cannot be signed by the agent because the commission won't accept that agreement. So
Nope.
I don't know what Zillow is going to do, but if your favorite hobby is to go to Zillow and set up a showing, don't be surprised when no agent shows up.
So, and let's why we're talking about Zillow, and realtor.com and Redfin and all those sites out there that have been wonderful. I use the Redfin app on my phone more than I use the real estate app. So let me just say, I have nothing bad to say about some of those companies, nor would I. But I will say this, you're not ever going to get the listing agent, people. So when you call to find out information about the particular house that you are interested in, you're getting a buyer's agent that has paid significant money to get your phone number.
Yeah.
And I don't mean a little bit. I mean like thousands of dollars every month for territories.
Yep.
And they are paying over half of their commission on average for that lead, for that phone call, when you already have an agent you could have called and asked that question to. So please be considerate and know, because education is the answer, right?
Yeah.
Like if we can educate you through this podcast, or we can educate you through Home Joiner, or we can educate you through whatever, we are giving you what you need to be successful. That's the whole goal. Listen, my kids are grown. You know what I mean? My kids are literally grown. They're in college. I have 2 that are finishing up college in the next 2 years. And I can tell you that 20 years is what I'm celebrating. My anniversary gift to everyone out there on my 20-year celebration is Home Joiner. It is literally going to offer you guys a way to find a realtor that is experienced, that's licensed, that has insurance, and not just realtors. Everybody. If you're looking for a window company, if you're looking for somebody to do your roof, you're going to have to give us a couple months to grow in your territory, but we will. And we're going to put forth a lot of effort to make sure that as a consumer, you can make educated decisions. It's gone. We know that. We know you can't find somebody that's quality without knowing somebody. So you're literally going on Facebook and trying to find someone. You can't do, if you want to do that, go ahead. But this is a better option in the next few months.
I saw a post on Facebook, experienced agent, showed a property and waited, and he posted every day, still waiting, still waiting, still waiting. He waited almost a week for disclosures because he told the agent, I want to write an offer, I need disclosures. So if we as agents are struggling to get listing agents to return our call, that's what we need. Wait till you start calling them. I want to see the house. I want to see the house.
Yeah.
And they're like, I don't want the risk. Get an agent.
Right.
Well, I don't want to get an agent. I don't know if I like the house. Oh, well.
Yeah. Right. Listing agents, that's probably going to happen. People are going to want you to open the door, which I didn't even think about that till you just said that, John, but it's true. You're going to want that listing agent to show you the house because you don't want to hire somebody.
You don't want to have an agreement. I don't want to have any agreement.
Right. I don't want an agreement. I want you to work for free. I want to be able to stab you in the back the minute I find a house that I want to buy on my own. And then I want to call you 10 times and ask you questions. Right?
Yeah.
Like, I just want you to answer them for free, please.
Amen.
No, sorry.
No.
That's not how it's going to work. So, let's go to the next question
Yep.
because as everybody can tell, John and I are both like pretty ready to shoot the messenger, right? Okay, this is a good question. What form of training gave us the most confidence in real estate? That's from a realtor. So, okay.
I don't know about you, but I spent 20 years in the mortgage business. So, I mean, honestly, at 13, I had my first paper route. And let me tell you, you don't think having a paper route is a sales job?
It
Wait
is.
till you try to collect your money.
Yeah, right.
Then it became a sales job. Because I'd
I
have people say, come back on Friday. And then I'd show up on Friday. They wouldn't be home. They wouldn't answer
for
the
the
door.
$2, right?
It was $2. I think it was $2.20.
Yeah, right.
I'm chasing
And
$2.20
yeah,
at
and
13.
most salespeople that are successful are not afraid to work. Like we're worker bees. We work from the minute we wake up, usually
Yep.
to the minute we go to bed, and then when we go on vacation, like John said, we post our pictures, and everybody thinks we don't work. If we can go on vacation, because guess what? We summer is our busy time, so a lot of us don't go too far during the summer. All right, so for me, wow, I would say most of my experience came from working. Well, personally, I worked for a real estate attorney when I got my license for 6 years, and he was very thorough on contracts, and he was very thorough on um how we did our job. You know what I mean? Like, so there were rules and regulations. And I
Mhm.
think that summing that up, would be, if you're not confident, it shows, right? So my suggestion would be, and I think I've said this before, is shadow an agent. Find an agent
Yeah.
in your office that is successful, that you're looking up to and that you would like to mirror. And then ask them if they can help you. Like, be available. If you need to drive to the house and meet them because they're showing their buyers, and follow them in your car, then that's what you have to do.
Right.
I certainly wouldn't be opposed to somebody calling me and saying, hey, Sue, can I go with you on a few appointments just to get my feet wet and
Right.
see how you handle something? um that would be the best thing you can do, is really, and then offer some assistance to that agent that's willing to do that for you.
Yeah.
Can I make flyers for you? Can I run around and do this or that? It's a give and take. And and call into the podcast, listen to the podcast, learn from everything you can.
I will tell you that one thing about real estate, see, people from the outside who are thinking about getting a real estate license,
Yeah.
they think everybody's atypical, right? But in real estate, there's all kinds of roles. There's people who tell
100%.
me, oh, I'll never door knock. I think it's intrusive and blah, blah, blah. Okay, so make phone calls
Mhm. Right.
or host dumpster day in your neighborhood.
Yeah.
Or, if your kids play sports, be the team mom,
Amen.
and you coordinate
Absolutely.
oranges and juices and
My
events, and travel events. And
You
next
have
thing
no idea, John. You have no idea what team moms do. Let me say, team mom. I was a team mom for my daughter's softball, for basketball, and for my son's football for 4 years.
yeah,
We worked. That was a job. I had to go
yeah,
to
but
restaurants and get free food donated because, so that's a job. But it's rewarding. You know what I mean? Like, your kids, you're going to know all of their friends. You're going to know all their teammates. Like, go team moms. I love you. And mucho
real estate
respecto.
shows up. Real estate shows up anywhere and everywhere. I find that I often use this analogy with, like, when I'm mentoring. I say real estate opportunities float around you, like particles of dust. But your real estate eyes are not trained yet to see an opportunity. So, I say to them, I said, look, here's your first script, and you can remember this. You're in the store and somebody sees your name tag and they say, oh, you're in real estate. How's the market? Fantastic. Why do you ask?
You just don't even want to ask John in the grocery store, because next thing you know is you're buying a house from John.
Fantastic. Why do you
Amen.
ask? I was
Right? Amen.
waiting in line at Double T for, the kids had to go eat their $18 omelets at the Double T.
Right.
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 Anyway, we're sitting there. It's jam packed.
Gosh.
It's on a Sunday. And I had given my kids the seat. So I was standing, and a guy said to me, he was standing, his mom was sitting.
Yeah.
And he said, oh, you sell real estate? I said, yeah. He said, well, I own a house in the county. He said, how's the market? I said, fantastic. Why do you ask? He's like, because I'm retiring in 6 months and I want to sell the place and we want to move south. I said,
Amen.
fantastic. I said, does Tuesdays or Thursdays work better for you? I said, 4:00, or do you need me to, is there somebody else involved? I can make it 5:30.
Yeah.
5:30 would be great. That way my wife can meet with us. I said, fantastic.
Amen.
I said, how about next Thursday at 5:30? He said, fantastic. I said, just give me your address and cell phone number and I'll follow up and I'll confirm the appointment. I'll show up. So
Yeah.
we sit down at the table, and of course my daughter says, you're so embarrassing.
I get that too.
I hate when you do that.
Yeah.
And I said, really? Now my son's sitting next to me. This is my stepdaughter. My son's sitting next to me. And I said, guess what, Brendan? Next time we go to the beach and rent the big house, like we rent the big house, we do it in like September. He said, yeah. He said, we always get interesting houses. I said, well, this time we're going to leave Caroline at home because she's so embarrassed.
Exactly.
Of course, he's a kid and he's the same age. So you know what he says? Ha ha, you got to stay home.
Right. Exactly.
Quickly, she was like, okay, now I understand.
And there's a lot of people that are extroverted in this business. You know what I mean? Like, so I'm very extroverted. I can't deny it. I'm not going to lie about it. I am who I am. That's who I am. That's who God made me to be. It's who I'm intended to be. Whatever. You don't like me, go somewhere else. You know what I mean? I'm at the age of, I don't really care if you like me or not. So that being said, I'm also probably one of the nicest people to my clients, and I will take 100% care of you. There are some people that are introverted that are in this business, and I can't imagine how hard it is for them. You know what I mean?
It's very hard for them.
Very difficult. Yeah, very difficult.
But there's other roles that they can play. Not everybody's a rainmaker. Not everybody's gonna pop into a group function, and next thing you know, they're kind of holding court in the room. Not everybody's gonna do that. Some people are gonna slide in.
Right.
They're gonna talk to just their little core group of friends. Right. And they twinkle out the door. And they said, that I'm going to write that down as that was my lead generation activity for the day. And it's not.
Right. No, you've got to be confident. Confidence. And that's was in this question, right? Like, where did we get the most confidence? I think that the most confidence, to sum this up, is basically coming from believing in yourself, making sure that you are educated enough to be able to represent someone and on the biggest purchase of their life. Like, understand
this business will show you something new almost each and every month.
Every time. Every
deal. And there's some caveat that's different.
Right. There's times where we have to pull out the contract and point out to the other agent a fact that they have to abide by.
Right.
I mean, there's rules in these contracts, and and buyers that want to do this by themselves, get ready. Get ready to take a lot of time and review that contract line by line, because if there's anything that you need to be confident in, it's that contract, because that's what the judge is going to go by, right?
Can you imagine,
So,
Sue,
I'm
can you
sorry.
imagine having a listing
No.
and a couple comes through at an open house
Yeah.
and they say, "Hey, listen, I'm very interested in the house. Can you give me the disclosures? I don't have an agent. Can you give me the disclosures? And can you give me a sample contract that I can have my attorney review?"
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Sure, I'd do that.
That sounds great, right? That
Yeah.
sounds
I
like,
would do
oh,
it.
that's easy
Yeah.
peasy, right?
Yeah.
Well, first of all, it's going to take over a week for the attorney to fit you in for that review,
And the
right?
attorney's going to have to call a realtor, because unless it's a real estate attorney, they don't know that contract.
No.
So how many hours would it take that attorney to review a real estate contract if they're not
Yeah,
a real
but
estate attorney?
here's the thing. Here's the thing. Once it's signed by both parties,
It's
at
done.
that point, what are you reviewing?
Yeah, absolutely.
What are you reviewing what you signed up for?
So, and understand buyers that are even considering buying a house without representation, right? Like if you're going to be on your own, understand this: the seller's legally bound to the seller. I mean, I'm sorry, the listing agent is legally bound to the seller.
Right.
There was a situation where something came up, years ago. Now it's been a couple years, but something came up that I had to keep my mouth shut. And that is not an easy task for me. You know what I mean? Like I had to, because I represented the seller,
Right.
I had to keep my mouth shut. And I knew I wanted to tell the buyer, but I couldn't because I represented the seller. And so there was nothing I could do.
It goes
Literally.
both ways. It goes both
No,
ways.
it does.
I had
So,
a friend of mine, past client. He wanted to buy a house in Rogers Forge, which is an area near Towson,
yeah.
and he was a for sale by owner. And my guy had already bought one on the street, but he wanted to buy this as an investment.
Mm-hmm.
And so he called the guy. He told the guy, "Look, I have a real estate agent." The guy says, "Okay, I don't mind co-oping, but I'm not going to hire an agent." So first of all, the first thing
What? I
is
don't understand. Go.
he was a for sale by owner,
Oh, okay.
except
I
he
must
had
have.
his daughter saying that she was the seller. And so I pulled up public records and I said, with all due respect,
Mhm.
so and so who lives in Texas is the lawful owner. That's my dad. I said, okay, so really we should be talking with your dad. Well, I lived here while I was going to Towson, and my dad told me to go ahead and sell it, and then he'll sign it. I said, but I really can't talk to you about it because he's the lawful owner. I really need to speak to him.
Right.
So I
He
finally get
can
him on the
sign
phone.
her. Right. Like he could give her a POA for that, but he can't.
He
There's
didn't.
no.
He didn't.
Right.
He didn't.
He,
So
exactly.
so he says, I don't need agent representation. I said, it's fine. So my client would like to put in an offer and they have an agent and my broker would like to make sure that you're going to honor. So we did a form. I
Yep.
sent it to him. He signed it. So we're sitting at settlement, right? Because this goes both ways.
Absolutely.
Unrepresented sellers, unrepresented buyers.
Yeah.
Doing the closing and he gets to the part where it's the non-resident seller tax, right?
Every time. Every time. Yep.
And so the seller says, well, what the hell's that? And I said, the attorney said it's a state of Maryland has a tax for non-residents.
Yep.
And your driver's license you submitted today says you live in Texas.
Yep.
And he's like, yeah, my daughter lived there. You should have put your daughter on title.
Yep.
You didn't.
And your listing agent could have told you that.
And I said to him, I said, sir, look, I know you're not happy about paying it, but there's a reason why real sellers hire real agents so that you have the
Absolutely.
conversations up front about what's involved before you
Yep.
get to the settlement table, because then now it's too late.
And that fee is in excess of 8%. Like
If you're an LLC,
yeah. Oh, I don't know about that, but
Yeah, it's 8.25%.
eight,
And
yeah,
if
it's
you're a
eight,
private
and then plus
individual,
of
it's
eight
seven
percent.
and a quarter.
Yeah,
And I
I
have one
talked.
right now. I have one right
Yeah,
now.
it's so much money. I mean, it's more than
Actually, I
you
have two.
ever. It's more than you would most likely pay your listing agent.
Hell
Maybe
yeah.
double what you would pay your listing agent. Now,
But there's
so
nothing really you can do. There's nothing really you
no,
can do.
no. So
This happens all the time.
educated,
Mom and dad start going to Florida. They
right?
buy a place in Florida and they're
Yeah,
living Maryland and Florida.
right.
And then they get tired of the drive. So they tell the family, listen, mom and I are going to live in Florida. We're thinking about selling the house. And one of the children says, don't sell the house. Don't sell the house. I grew up here. We'll
Yeah,
live in it. We'll live in it. And the parents
yeah,
say, okay. And so the parents are letting the kids live in the house. They got a little
yeah,
family. They're living in the
yeah,
house.
yeah,
And then one day, the daughter or son says, hey, we want to move. We want to buy a different house.
yeah.
And so the parents sell the house. And then lo and behold, the parents have now changed their address to Florida where they're paying taxes, federal
Yeah,
taxes, because there's
yeah,
no state taxes.
yeah.
And we have to be the bearer of bad news and tell them, what you should have done is you should have had your son or daughter buy the house from you.
Or just add them to title. I mean, like
Yep,
literally, as long as one of the people living in the home
yep,
are residents of the state, then there is
yep.
no out of state sales tax, to the
But
best of my knowledge.
they
Talk to
don't
your
think about it.
accountant.
They don't think about
We're
it.
not accountants, but yeah, like I mean, this is just something that you need to know, and your realtor would have told you. So, you know, knowledge is power.
Yep.
Hire an experienced, knowledgeable person that's going to help you. Um,
I mean, this ain't Carvana.
no,
Real
no,
estate
nobody's
ain't
going to just
Carvana. This ain't
pop up
CarMax.
and yeah, and you gotta. Here's an example of something that took place, right? And I know of this story happening. Um, a friend hired a very poor agent years ago, right? And that friend bought their first house. It was actually the father of their friend, you know what I mean? Like an acquaintance my friend's husband knew an agent's father, right? Like, so there was some connection, but it wasn't, it was, it was family, but it was a distant family. Anyway, they went with that agent, and that agent told them that they only needed to do the appraisal. They could waive the inspections because no, I'm serious. They told him they could waive the inspections because it was a waste of money. That the appraiser, it was an FHA loan, and the appraisal would check for anything that would needed to be done. Oh my. So guess what happened?
Everything.
The septic failed in
Yep,
the first month they were in the house. It literally collapsed into the ground.
yep.
Now we're talking nowadays. I mean, back then I think it was like $4,000 or whatever. They didn't have $4,000.
Right.
He literally called his friends who helped him dig up this septic tank, and then they had a friend that was going to help them put it in. Now, come on,
Not without
guys.
a permit.
Not well, I think they did it without a permit. Who knows? I don't know the ins
Or
and outs because it wasn't me, but literally your agent is your protector. They're your guide. They're your experience. They're the ones that are going to tell you what you have to do. If you were with me or with John, and I'm only using the two of us as examples because we can defend ourselves, we are going to have you sign a waiver that literally is in your face saying, we suggest you have a home inspection.
yeah,
I think it says, for your protection, get a home inspection.
yeah.
And at the very bottom of that is a signature that you're signing saying you're waiving it, because we have to tell you it's so important to do that. Now, if you don't know about well and septic, Tim was talking about being in a situation where the septic needed inspected, and he was called in and they said, oh, well, we didn't include it on the contract.
Yep,
And the septic was bad. I mean,
yep,
like, you didn't include well and septic on your inspection list. Why? Because you're trying to buy a house without a representative,
yep.
without a realtor. So, I mean, we can't tell you enough. And I think we talk about it in almost every podcast, how important it is for you guys to have someone that you're very comfortable with. Now, if you were a realtor for 20 years, go ahead, buy your own house. You have the experience,
Go ahead, go for it.
go ahead. I mean, would I hire a realtor if I were buying a house in a different area?
Yeah.
Probably. Right? Like probably, because I know enough to know that I need their experience for that region.
Hey, if I wanted to
Like
move to Florida,
probably. Yeah.
I wouldn't try to go directly to the listing agent. I'd hire my own agent.
Me too. Without
I mean,
question, I think I
I
would.
don't know what happens in Florida. God forbid you buy a
I
condo in
don't,
Florida.
because I'm sure I'd be the worst customer ever.
God forbid you buy a condo in Florida. Remember the building that half of it caved in?
I
That
don't
was
even
because
know.
of the pool deck failure.
Oh, gee.
You know what flood insurance cost in Florida?
I would imagine. I
$1,000 a
definitely,
month.
I want a beach house. Before I'm dead, I'm gonna have a beach house, and it's not gonna be in
Good luck
Florida,
to you.
North Carolina, South Carolina. But I don't know what I'm gonna buy. I mean, I have no idea. My dream is there, but it's only when I'm sleeping. It's still in the sleeping hours.
All right.
Anyway, so guys, thank you for tuning in. I know that you're hearing all kinds of different responses. I know that this is a crazy market. So we're here for you. We want to help you. We want to invite you to join us. Please consider logging into Home Joiner to pick your area. We are hiring. We definitely are looking for sales reps to help us grow this company. So if you're interested and if you've made it all the way to the end of this podcast, then you are the person we want to hire. Well, I'll just say that right now. If you're listening to this, call us. We're going to be holding a seminar Monday, Wednesday, and Saturdays at noon.
Yep.
That basically is for people that want to help us grow. And there'll be a couple other days for advertisers if you want to advertise with us. Reach out anytime. Thank you. Have a blessed week. John, as always, thank you very much, guys. Talk to you soon. Take care. Bye. Bye, John.